Hello, everybody. Cobradvs here. It's been a long time since I have said those words. About 5.5 years. It was August of 2014 when I made my last video, and it was almost a year before that for the one previous. So it's been a very long time, and it feels like it's been a long time. So yeah, it has been 5.5 years. You're probably wondering what happened. In my last video, I made a joke that I had died or whatever. Obviously, that's not the case. But I did pretty much stop collecting. Before we get to collecting, just quickly, I don't want to give you guys a documentary. We'll talk a little bit about what's changed for me in the past 5.5 years. Let's see. I bought a house. I've bought like 3 or 4 cars since then. I don't necessarily own 3 or 4 cars, but you know what I mean. I graduated college. I started working in corporate America, which is exciting. That doesn't sound good. It sounds bad when I say corporate America, but actually it's a really great place, and I really like my job a lot. But what else? Let's see. So for 5.5 years, or actually 5 years, I've had a girlfriend that whole time. Not necessarily related to not making videos, but that's been going on. Luckily, she supports my bad habits, you know what I mean? So we're okay there. What else? I grew a beard. Yep, this took 5 years to grow. Maybe in another 5 it will be, decent. But no, so what else? There's not really a whole lot. I mean, things happen to people. I'm starting to bald in the back. I'm edging on 30 nowadays, which is still crazy to say. If you want evidence, this is a cup of tea. So there's evidence for you. I don't really know what else there is to say. Let's talk about games. So collecting wise, yeah, about five or so years ago, I did pretty much stop collecting for the most part. I mean, I still would get the occasional thing, but I did sort of lose most of my drive to make videos, so I stopped. That's not to say, though, that I haven't gotten a lot since then. And in recent years, I would say at least in the last, year, I've kind of started collecting a little bit again. There's a lot of things out there that I've grown to appreciate, and I want to collect those things. So I don't necessarily collect things for their value so much anymore, just as I collect them more so for the value that I put on them. So games that I want to play are games I want to collect. Things that are rare but I don't want to play, I don't necessarily go after. Sometimes that line gets blurred, but in general, that's how it is. So really what I wanted to do is just make this intro, and then I'll give you a bit of a tour and kind of show you what's changed in the past 5 years from my collection standpoint. You'll find if you watched my channel previously, a lot of it's the same, but a lot of it is different, for better or worse. And we are currently in, we'll call it my game room, but it's actually the basement of my house. That's been turned into a pseudo lounge, video game hangout, kind of area. So when we have parties or people over, or just if you want to shoot a YouTube video, you can come down here. So it's great, and I'm excited to show it to you guys. So without rambling any more, let's get to it. So this is a door. That's all it is. It has a Ninja Gaiden 2 poster on it, but it's just a door. And the only reason you're looking at a door is because I didn't know what to focus the camera on while I preface the tour. So what we're going to do is go through my entire collection. I'll talk about what's new, what's not new, and any interesting stories or tidbits that come to mind, we'll talk about it then. So this door, much contrary to how it might look, is not the door that leads to my game room. In fact, I'm standing in the game room, and because it's the basement, what you would wind up doing is coming down the stairs and come into the room. Now, this door to the right, that's the cat's room, and there's a water heater and stuff in there. So let's get started. I'll do a quick pan, just so you can understand all that we've got to talk about. And there. So let's start here, why we're at the right here in the beginning. So obviously a table, but the important thing, or the interesting bit, is this arcade cabinet. This is actually super new in relation to most things in here. I've gotten this, or I've had this, I should say, about, I don't know, a month or two. I got it in the beginning of January, I think, or late December. This is a multi-cade. Originally a Dig Dug cabinet, so you might recognize the shape, that somebody locally had turned into a multi-cade. And the guy just does it out of his garage, so he sold this to me for an insanely good price. It was $550. What's on the machine is, and you'll see my reflection here in a minute, there we go, is 60 games. It's a 60-in-1, not uncommon for these multi-cades. But it's got everything that, from the early 80s that you'd actually want to play, plus a few that you probably wouldn't. I've been working on Donkey Kong a lot. I'm trying to break 100,000. It's a tough game. But it's a good machine. It's got a trackball, good joystick, 1-2-player button. I don't have it turned on. Probably should have, huh? In fact, yeah, let's do that. And here we go. She's all powered up. So this is your typical 60-in-1 screen, essentially. I've actually got it running on quarters. I got this from this little container used to hold quarters from, oh gosh, what was his YouTube name? The Upset Luchador. Oh man, that is a throwback. The Upset Luchador. He's a good guy, a good buddy of mine. Years ago, we used to do chats on Google Hangouts all the time. I think his wife made that, and now I'm finally using it on the regular. I used to have just some pens in there, but anyway, I've got it running on quarters because I always thought that the whole putting in a quarter was a really cool aspect of the whole experience. So from here you just select a game and then whatever. I'm actually not going to play it, but there's Donkey Kong. And you can see my high score. Almost at that 100,000, Billy Mitchell. Or whoever still play. I don't know who the guy is anyway. Anyway, let's move on while that plays. You'll hear some music in the background. Guitar. I play a little guitar. I wouldn't call myself particularly good, but I do enjoy playing a few things. That's my girlfriend's keyboard. She is particularly good. She's musically gifted, so I just leave that to her. I got these mounted shelves, or these wall-mounted shelves, I should say. When did we get these? Maybe a few weeks ago. Kind of wanted some decor to go with the new arcade cabinet. So there's some various arcade items up here. It's a Dig Dug, which is a great game that her and I actually go back and forth on high score. I can't remember who has the high score right now. She might. Anyway, it's a good game. Just some, random arcade type items. A couple of cool Space Invader deals there. Donkey Kong, cool marquee. Here's the keys to get inside the cabinet, Pac-Man glass, that kind of stuff. Next to that is the game shelf. Before we do the game shelf, why don't we just go ahead and pan around and show the rest of the room. Over here's a neon sign. It's not an official Nintendo unit. In fact, it was made by somebody in the Detroit area. And I bought that off of Minister Mishkin, if you remember his YouTube channel. he and I have also kept up over the years. In fact, we went to Midwest Gaming Classic last year, and I think we're going to try and do that again this year. So that's a good time. Anyway, a cool Nintendo sign. You know, I probably should have had it turned on. So let's see if this doesn't mess the camera up. Oh, okay. So it's on. There you go. It's cool. It's got different colored letters. The first two are blue, white, green, and then like a teal. So moving on, just a few random things here. Entertainment center, your router, your cable box, whatever. That's a 50-inch 4K TV. I've got a Switch dock down here so I can play Switch or watch TV or whatever. Next to it is a great find in my mind. 36-inch Sony Trinitron. Yeah, Trinitron's how you pronounce it. TV. Person on Facebook was just giving this away. And when you understand how heavy it is, you'll know why they're just giving it away, because nobody would pay to carry this thing. It weighs about 200 pounds, it seems. But it is awesome. Awesome for anything non-HD. So I've got all my older consoles hooked up to it, plus the Wii. And it is really just awesome. Can't say enough good things about it. And I also have the cable hooked up to that, so I could actually watch TV on either one, cable on either one of these TVs. And oftentimes, if I'm playing on this TV, I'll have cable on here, and vice versa. So it's a really great setup. That's why I spend a lot of time down here, but I probably could spend more. Anyway, a few consoles down there: Genesis, Wii, Saturn, N64, Super Nintendo. Just boring stuff: controllers, manuals, nothing too crazy there. Full-on couch, sectional couch, and an old lazy boy chair I've had for years. So, here's the game shelf. I mean, I guess we'll just start on the left. The left, it typically follows the flow of oldest to newest, but as you'll see, that's not 100% the case. It was important to me to try and get everything I had out here. And I wanted it to look organized. I wanted it to be neat, and I wanted to show off as much stuff as I could. I mean, there's no sense in keeping it in boxes. The unfortunate thing is I wasn't able to do it. So all the good, quote-unquote, good stuff is out here, but there's still stuff that I could display. So maybe eventually I'll end up expanding, but that won't be for quite a while. So, what do we have? Starting with NES, that is not quite the earliest console I have. I do have some Atari games, but they're in here and they're just loose cartridges. I'm not huge on Atari, so I didn't bring it out. I don't have an Intellivision anymore. I don't have a ColecoVision anymore. So, that's that. As far as NES goes, nothing has changed in the years since my last video. Now, I don't know if you saw what I had all sold since then, but let's see. I used to have the Ninja Gaiden trilogy set, sold those. I don't really know what else I had that was notable. Just a few notable games. I do still have my Battletoads Double Dragon. That's a gem. I do have that one complete. I do keep these empty, and any cart that's... Any cartridge that would be in here is up here. I've got, what are some good ones? Fire and Ice. You can't see that. Fire and Ice, that's just a loose copy, but I do really enjoy that game. Of course, the Castlevania trilogy, enjoy those. At least I enjoy 1 and 3. I've never really played 2 that much. The Lolo series, Metal Storm, that's one I've held on to. One of my favorites, New Ghostbusters 2. This is the PAL version. This game never came out in the United States, only in Japan and Europe, I believe. But it plays on a top-loading NES, so I was very happy to get that game. And then some various other stuff. Nothing that insane. But I will say this. I've started to collect for the NES again. I just bought a few games on the... I was going to say Nintendo Age. But there is a whole story there. If you don't know, Nintendo Age doesn't exist anymore. It was bought by a company called Go Collect. And it is just an absolute disaster. It is nothing like it used to be. I used to love that site. The good news, however, is that the some moderators or higher ups at Nintendo Age formed Video Game Sage. That's SAGE, and it's basically like the Nintendo Age you remember. And I've already done my first deal on there with a guy, and I've got four boxed NES games coming. So hey, if this YouTube thing takes off, maybe I'll do a video. Anyway, I'll put a link to Video Game Sage in the description. I think you should check it out. It's a good place. Plus Atari Age, there's another good place. Sega Age is also gone. Anyway, here's some Game Boy stuff. Those cartridges are all in there. One thing that you'll remember is I had a full Zelda set, less the CDI games. That's still true. Kinda. We'll talk more about that later. Down below, Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was probably my favorite console to collect for at one time. And I think the reason for that is because the good games on Super Nintendo are really good. The games that are good on NES are also very good, but I think they really just go up a notch on Super Nintendo. Zelda's a great example. Mario's a good example. Contra, yeah, you can make that argument. Castlevania, obviously you can make that argument too. Donkey Kong Country, I really just think everything's turned up a notch, so I really love the console. Nothing much has changed here. I don't think I've got anything new. I don't recall if I showed, I have the Parallel Worlds, the Parallel Worlds Complete in Box. Who made this? Was it Time Walk Games? Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember who actually made that, but the unfortunate thing is that that's not the Redux version, so it's unnecessarily hard, so I've never really made it past the beginning, but I should play it. All good games, mostly, I've got for Super Nintendo. It's more of a quality over quantity thing. I still have my Pride and Joy Wild Guns. Box has a little bit of wear, but the cartridge is awesome, and so that's really good. There's really not much out on Super Nintendo that I want. One thing you'll notice, do take note of this, I am missing both of the Battletoads games I used to have, and there's a very good reason why I'm missing those. I'm also missing Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, which I used to have complete, and again, a very good reason for that. There's the cartridges, nothing too wild there. This is actually a PC game made to look like a Super Nintendo game, but it's not. Below that, a couple of shelves and drawers, empty. Might as well be empty. What little N64 games I have here are some not for resale Zelda games, part of the collection there. A couple of loose carts, a few boxes. Here's a book that holds some Atari cartridges. There's a few Atari boxes back there. One cool thing to point out here for any Evil Dead fans, Army of Darkness. This was a homebrew for the 2600 from years ago. Gosh, I can't even remember when I got this. Had to be at least 7 or 8 years ago. It's basically like a Astro Blasters type game. Pretty much just shooting at enemies coming towards you. But it has, and as far as I know, it's the only Atari game that has this, even though it's not official, voice. So it says, I think, does he say groovy? I think it says groovy when you press the fire button on the home menu to start the game. Limited to, I think it was 50 copies, and then they made 3 different types of collector's editions, which I think also had 50 of each. So that's a really cool find. That's probably the rarest thing I own. I don't know how valuable that is, but it's probably the rarest. Nintendo 64 drawer that also holds Super Nintendo cartridges. Dracula X, yeah, that's a game I don't have the box for, but wanted to stay protected. The other ones you've seen, I believe, what's that? That's Castlevania 4 up here. And there's that Wild Guns cart. Always keeping that in good shape. Bottom is just some console boxes. Nothing too crazy there. One of my favorites is the SNES Mini with the Link to the Past bundle. That was a good find online a few years ago. So, let's move on to the next shelf. I'm stepping back to grab one thing that is missing from the Saturn shelf. I'll put that in there. Anyway, Genesis on top, starting actually with the Sega Master System. This is a reprinted cover, but the cartridge inside, oh, there we go, is authentic. PAL only game, not released in the United States. but very good. Quite a bit advanced, more advanced than the NES games, or at least the first one, and it's fun. These are both the PAL versions. This is not the North American version, as you can see, so not all that expensive or valuable, but cool to have here in the States. Same story with Genesis, I guess, as with NES and Super Nintendo. Not a lot has changed. I've still got most of my favorite games. Let's see, and those would be Castlevania Bloodlines. Really a great game there. I did pick up eSWAT recently. I say recently, actually, it's been almost a year now. Ghostbusters, that's a pretty good game. Ghouls and Ghosts, this was a Midwest Gaming Classics pickup from last year. I'm excited to get that game back then. I wanted to give that another go. Still got Gunstar Heroes. Boy, I am out of breath. That's how you know you need to exercise, or maybe talk more. Anyway, nothing else too crazy here. Predator 2, underrated game. Phelios, that's a good one. Rocket Knight, obviously, and then Road Rash is a total classic. RoboCop vs. Terminator, another great game. Shadow Dancer, I was trying to get the Shinobi set for a little while, and I haven't gotten the other ones yet, but and then going through the line, some other goodies. These are I'll never get rid of these. I really enjoy these games. I like to play them during Halloween time. I don't typically do it, but I always think about doing it, and it's the thought that counts. So, and Truxton, also another good game, even though I'm not good at it. So I really enjoyed the Genesis. There was a time where I had a lot more games, but similar story. Just, gotta sell what you don't play. Some Game Boy and Game Gear cartridges. There's really nothing too crazy in there. Below that, Sega CD, 32X, and some PC stuff. And a Game Gear game, Battletoads. That was actually in my last pickups video from 5 years ago. Not too much has changed here. The only real notable addition is I picked up Popful Mail about 6 months ago. Got a decent deal on this game. It's gone up in price. I did play it, and I've tried to beat it. It's pretty good. It's not that good, but it's pretty good. It's not worth paying for. I mean, and by that I mean it's not worth $300. It's not that good, but it's a pretty good game. 32X, nothing's changed there. Battletoads on Game Gear, nothing's changed there. Another Midwest Gaming Classics pickup. Doom 2 on floppy with the manual. Pretty cool. I'd really love to get the boxes for the original Doom series on PC. I've still got it on disc, but then a couple of big box PC games. This last one here, though, is probably my favorite. It's called Sigil. And if you follow Doom at all, you already know about this. But basically, this is a limited run games release. This is made by John Romero, one of the original Doom creators. And it's the unofficial 5th episode of Doom 1. Limited Run Games did a nice big box PC version of it, and I was quick to jump on that. And thanks to Doom on Switch, I recently played through Sigil, and actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It's very different than the other Doom episodes. Very different. By the way, that's not sealed. I've just kept the wrapping on the outside. I have opened it. I just didn't get a chance to get it running on my computer. Below that, Saturn. Not a ton here has changed, but I have gotten a couple of new games. Duke Nukem I got rid of and just recently got back, and Power Slave, potentially my favorite Sega Saturn game. I recently acquired. I say recently, really it was about 6 months ago. What a game. That is an awesome game. It's a first-person shooter. It doesn't run like a hot knife through butter, but it doesn't chug either. It's certainly tenfold Doom on Saturn. And then Saturn Bomberman is a good game. Actually, an excellent game. Maybe my second favorite Saturn game, could be my favorite. I don't know. And then the only other super rare or valuable actually game is Mega Man 8. And I really even don't know. I don't know why I have Mega Man 8 anymore. I don't really like Mega Man that much. It's just, I'm not good at it, that's why. Action Replay, so I can play imports. I don't have any imports, but if I did, I'd play them. Just a couple of PS1 games there. Random Jaguar Alien vs. Predator. Found a great deal at a game store for that. It was like $30 complete, so I obviously bought that. Some Genesis stuff here, Saturn. Box consoles, there's a 32X back there. This is one of those new Saturn controllers released by Retrobit. This is the one made to hook up to the Saturn. They have another one that's USB. Excellent. It feels just like the original, and I think you should get it if you have a Saturn. It is worth your time. A little bit of dust here. That's a CDX box. I do have the console that's in there. I got that from Minister Michigan also. He had a complete copy, or a complete console. And I think I bought the complete console and then sold the CDX, if I remember right, because I had one already and I just wanted the box and the inserts. So, Alter Beast Genesis console back there. I think that's the original release that came out. Just love the box. Really nostalgic game for me. And then here's another retro bit controller, this time for the Genesis. And that's wireless. Haven't used that yet. Don't know how good it is. All right, let's move down a shelf. We are getting into the modern times. We are on GameCube. I won't spend a lot of time on this stuff, but there is a shelf I want to focus on a little bit more. Yeah, GameCube. I don't have a ton of GameCube games. I've got most of the staples. I'm missing a couple of the Mario parties, but anything I want on GameCube, I pretty much have. Wii U. This is an interesting one. Wii U. I have basically a full set. I'm missing 3 games. I'm missing, this is not all of them, by the way, all the, like, Just Dance and that kind of crap I have boxed away. But, let's see, I'm missing Rabbids Land, I'm missing Disney Infinity 1, because I'm waiting for the big box, and then, I hope you're sitting down, I'm missing Zumba Fitness Party. Don't have that, because I want the big box with the belt. So I've just been waiting on that. We use an easy console to collect for. There's only like 130 or 150 games. There's really none that are hard to get. Axiom Verge is the last released game on the console, physically anyway. But they're out there. They're not. You're gonna find them only from collectors probably, but they're out there. I actually got 2 copies. This one is, I believe, my open copy. Let's see. Yes, this is my open copy. I have a sealed one too. If you haven't played Axiom Verge, you can play it on pretty much every console, but if you're a Metroid fan, you need to play it. And I would say the only other game that's really that difficult to get would be Devil's Third. I think it's just an issue with a limited run, a limited print of that game. I found it on Amazon years and years ago when it was kind of on its way out for, I think it was like $40. It's still sealed. I've never played it. And then over here, just kind of the rest of them. Let's see. GameCube, Wii's over here. I don't have a ton of Wii stuff. Not a console I'm really all that interested in as of yet. Wii U again, and then we'll skip down here to DS, 3DS. Last 3DS game I bought, Metroid Samus Returns. Really enjoyed that game. It cramped the hell out of my left thumb, but really good game, and there's rumors of a new one coming out on Switch, a new 2D Metroid. We will see what that's all about. Speaking of Switch, I, just like everybody else on YouTube, do have a Nintendo Switch, and I, just like everybody else who has a Nintendo Switch, it seems, collect the limited run games. And when I say I collect them, that's not really true. They do a lot of great indie games, and I'm a huge proponent of indie games nowadays, and mostly because of this game right here, actually, Dead Cells. Probably one of my favorite games of the last 5 years, and it really showed me that indie games are they are worth your time. There are a lot of awesome indie games, and they're really getting a lot of recognition now, especially on the Switch and the PlayStation 4. So I've got a bunch of stuff here. If you I won't bore you with Switch. If you've got a Switch, you know all about the games that are on there. And if you don't collect the indie games, or play the indie games, I should say, you're really doing yourself a disservice. There's a lot of good ones. Here are some of the collector's edition games I've got. Axiom Verge on Switch. That's actually the version I played. Bloodstained. This game's worth mentioning. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. If you are a Castlevania fan, especially the NES Castlevanias, Dracula 3 in particular, you need that game. It doesn't matter if you get it digitally or physically, get it. You can get it at Best Buy physically, I believe still. They released it there. Some other stuff. The Messenger is another one that you should play. Ninja Gaiden type game. You switch between 16 and 8-bit style graphics. That doesn't really show you that happens on the back, but you do. The first half of the game, I think, is better because it's straight up like a Ninja Gaiden game, and after that it turns into sort of a Metroidvania, and I just don't think it works as well. Some other games, Sonic Mania Plus, you need to play that too if you're a Sonic fan whatsoever. This was a newer one, Turok 1 and 2, remastered for Switch. I beat Turok 1 and really enjoyed it, so I'm going to play 2 soon. These are from the company Super Rare Games. You see their logo there. I've got a few of their games. Lovers in Dangerous Space-Time, that's a good co-op game. Cube 2 is a Portal-type game, really excellent. Snake Pass reminds you of Nintendo 64 type games. Wolverblade, that's okay. Ninja Saviors, that's from another company, Strictly Limited, but not bad. And then Ultra Core. Ultra Core is an interesting one. It's actually, you'll notice it looks a bit like a Genesis game because it originally was a Genesis game called, I think it was called Hardcore, and it was made by DICE, you know, who makes like Battlefield games and things. I haven't played that yet, but it's supposed to be pretty interesting. Down here is just some Wii U big box games. Here's my sealed copy of Axiom Verge. So I'll always have that, but I thought it was, I really wanted to see what the inside of that looked like, so I decided to buy 2. A couple other Wii U things here, nothing too exciting. Over here, the shelf over, a few more Wii U or Switch games. Again, nothing too crazy there. Down below that, some books. And down below these Wii U games, Xbox and PS4. You know, I'm not big on these consoles anymore and I haven't really played a lot. See, I don't know what the last game I bought and really played a lot of was. But I can tell you this. One of my favorite games on the console, right here, Zombie Army Trilogy. My buddy and I, and actually my girlfriend played with us too, beat that whole game on co-op. It is such a riot. It's so simple and so tongue-in-cheek. It is just so fun. And the sequel comes out in about 3 days, and we're going to do it all over again. So I'm super excited there. More consoles and stuff down there. And that pretty much wraps it up, with the exception of one shelf. So if you'll remember a while back, I had mentioned that I had gotten rid of some Super Nintendo games, both the Battletoads games, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. I think there were some NES games involved. I got rid of all of those games in a single trade. This was on Nintendo Age. And I traded all of those games for what I would probably call as my most prized possession. It's for a Zelda fan, I don't know. I mean, there's certainly an upper echelon of collector's items. I'd put this in that category, and I'm just super happy I have it. I can't really believe that I have it, and that's the Hyrule Warriors limited edition on Wii U. It was a New York Nintendo Store exclusive. I think it only had like 200 and some odd copies made. So I traded all those games to a guy on Nintendo Age, and he sent me that. It's sealed. I have not opened it. I will not open it, and it's in a box protector. I have the physical version, the regular version of the game, and it's very fun. Don't have the Switch version, though, so I don't have a full Zelda set at this point, but we'll see. I'll eventually get it. So you might be wondering, why would I trade all of that stuff for that when it's really just a cardboard box? Well, the answer is that all the stuff I traded is stuff that I could easily get back. I mean, they're expensive, but they're not going anywhere. I could always buy Battletoads and Battle Maniacs on Super Nintendo complete in box. There will always be copies of that game available. It might be expensive, but I could always get it. Eventually, there's going to come a point where you cannot get this game anymore. Because there's only a couple hundred of them out there. And I don't know how many are even left. I would assume probably most of them are still out there. But I really wanted to get it. And I didn't think I would have another opportunity. And as it turns out, I wouldn't have as up to this point. I've had that about, 3 or 4 years. So that's a super important piece to me. And it might be my favorite thing I own. The rest of the stuff these are all sealed Zelda games. A couple of GameCube ones, Wii U, 3DS, Switch. No Switch. Whatever. Actually, yeah, Switch here. Link's Awakening. That's the European Collector's Edition that we did not get. but I managed to get a good copy at retail price, so that was good. So that is the shelf, and let's go ahead and turn back to the third-person perspective. Wrap the video up. So that's the room tour. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's the same, but there's a lot of stuff that's different. So I just wanted to, I guess if I'm going to start doing YouTube videos again, you got to put yourself in perspective. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to let people know where you're at as far as the games that you own, what you like, what you're about. So that's really all the intention of this video was, to let you guys know what's changed and what I'm kind of going on nowadays. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it didn't ramble too long. I know this video is going to be like 45 minutes, but sorry. I mean, it's been 5.5 years. It's hard to sum that up in about 45 minutes. But depending on how this goes and depending on how my mood is, I might start doing YouTube videos again. I mean, if I'm going to start doing the collecting scene again, I think it'd be cool to do videos. It seems like a lot of people... Part of the reason I stopped doing videos is because everybody and their brother started doing YouTube videos, and it just kind of lost a little bit of its luster. I think now less people are doing it. It's kind of fizzled out a little bit. I mean, still a lot of people are collecting, but it doesn't seem as if it's so rampant. So yeah, maybe the niche is back, and I'll start doing it. So we'll see. Hopefully it is. Hopefully the response to this is positive and we can start doing some more videos. But even if not, it was good to catch up with my subscribers. I know there's a lot of people on here I met, and a lot of them I'm still in contact with, but many of them I'm not. So it'll be great to reconnect with those guys, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So to wrap up, guys, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because that's what every YouTuber says. But seriously, if you enjoyed the video, drop a comment, and maybe we can all start reconnecting again. So that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully we'll see you next time, and it won't be another 5.5 years.